Thanks for tuning in and welcome to this week's review of Rush Hour 3, starring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
To leave Paris tonight.
You got a deal. Let's get the hell out of here.
Please! That's the jump! Oh, hell no! That's the sewer!
Before I even start my review, I have to give a small tribute to Jackie Chan. When he first came to the States with his American debut of Rumble in the Bronx, I'd already seen most of his movies from the local Chinese video store. I even saw Rumble in the Bronx on VHS several times. But when Rumble in the Bronx was finally released in America, I still went to go see it on opening night. Why? Simply because I wanted Jackie Chan to have my money. I wanted to do what I could to support his film in any way possible. I also made sure a bunch of people I knew went to see his film in the theaters as well. He's a brilliant performer who gives about as much as any actor can give to the viewer. I also made a small video tribute to Jackie Chan on my channel as well. I am such a huge fan of his and I've always supported his films. He really loves what he does and he gives as much to his movies as anyone who's ever made a film, at least in my opinion. As you've seen in the Rush Hour 3 trailer, it does have some pretty goofy humor in it, and I was a little worried that it wouldn't have the right mix of action, humor, and drama. First, the good news. If you're a Jackie Chan fan, there are some good fighting scenes in this movie, and after turning 53 years old, it's just hard to believe he can still do it. He's incredible. And if you're a Chris Tucker fan, you can hear his voice loud and often. I think he gets paid by the word in this film. And now for the bad news. This has a lot of goofy scenes in it, and some of them work, and believe me, some don't. I think they laid the humor on a little too thick, and they did beat some of the jokes deep into the ground. The joke may be funny for the first line or two, but it keeps going for like 10 more lines, and I kept thinking to myself, okay, we get it, just time to move the story along. And I don't mind some goofy humor in movies, but with that kind of humor, it does tend to be hit or miss. And for me in this movie, it mostly missed. The acting wasn't that bad in this film, but I don't think anyone was expecting that much from this aspect of the movie. The film was rooted in two things and two things only: comedy and action. I will say I thought the action worked for the most part, and the comedy fell pretty flat in most areas. I will say that when Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker were singing, that was probably one of the most painful scenes in a movie that I've seen in a long time. And this movie also used some pretty bad one-liners that would have made Arnold Schwarzenegger proud. In a movie like this, you often find yourself saying, what was the plot again? Because it doesn't really matter. You can pretty much take out any plot, and for the most part, it'd be the same movie and you wouldn't miss a thing. You never really feel any drama or feel the characters are ever in any real danger. And on average, I would say this movie might interest you if you're a fan of the series. But it's nowhere near the quality of the first movie in the series. This one kind of went a little Lethal Weapon 3 on us. I think this is what happens all too often when the third movie is made. It lacks polish because the name itself usually brings the crowds to the theater regardless. And overall, I did like the action and I didn't really care much for the humor. I thought it was pretty bland and nothing to really go out of your way for. And as with most Jackie Chan films, the outtakes were probably the best parts of the movie. And that's not a bad thing. So if you're a big fan of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, then you might enjoy yourself. But if you didn't like either of the previous two installments, then you probably don't need to see this one either. From overall rating, I give Rush Hour 3 2.5 stars.